Today I'm talking to Latife Hayson for the second half of our interview. For those of you who haven't listened to her yet, Latife is a top real estate agent at Golden Gate Sotheby's International Realty, selling wineries, vineyards, and luxury estates in Napa Valley. Her transactions are typically over $10 million. In the first half of her interview, we talked about how she broke into the business through perseverance, authenticity, and integrity when most people would have given up. Today, in the second half of our conversation, we talk about the core principles of abundant success.
Thanks for listening to the Jere Metcalf Podcast, where top real estate agents tell how they do it. This podcast is to share knowledge for realtors and raise awareness for Give Back Homes, where real estate professionals work together for social good. Jet Centers Aviation, Bentley Atlanta, Legends Global, thank you for your sponsorship.
So I want to go through, I want to ask one more thing. I want to go through, you sent me, I love these kind of concepts that you live by, but before, do you have a story, and I don't know if you do or not, but do you have an example you could tell us of something that a transaction that has gone down that has been more difficult than most, or a situation that hasn't been the smoothest, and the way you handled that and what you learned, or an example of what you've done that you can share with us to bring what could have been a very negative thing into a positive, whether it's a client that's not happy, because I find you're very good at listening. You're a very good listener, and you're very good at asking the right questions to help the client see the light. Or just something that was difficult because of the way you were able to handle it. What I'm trying to do with you is some things for us to learn examples from, but also tapping into how you're big on emotional intelligence and how you use that in your business.
Yes, I use emotional intelligence in my life. I use it in my business, and it's been very, very successful. And I think you and I have talked in the past about many, many times I've been in a situation where a client is having an absolute meltdown, whether it's expletives or they are on a roll. And here's what I do. I'm on the phone. They start going off. It's almost never at me, almost never. It's either at the other side, or so they're frustrated with something. They're just
and for everybody, I want to hold your thought, but I just want to say, like, this is residential real estate. I got this from Jason O'Neill, but I use it over and over again because he's so right. We're dealing with people's homes, their money, and their family. The three things that any wise person would tell you to never get involved with someone else. So that said, continue.
Yeah.
So tell us, go ahead and tell us about on the phone with a client.
So what I have developed over the years is, like, I will tell you just how I began. When I came from Australia, I mean, I come from a very different culture. So we speak the same language, but that's about where everything ends. So, I think everybody knows that in Australia, women tend to appear to be more subservient, and it's actually that we're pretty smart, because what we do, for example, with men, let me give you a little insight
I love
here.
where this is going. Go ahead.
With the ideas, right? And then we share them with our husbands, our partners, whatever, but we let them make the decision. And then they say, oh, how about we do this? And that was your idea, right? But you didn't present it that way. And you go, well, honey, that's an idea. How can I help you with that? We never have to win. That is just the way Australian women are.
And that makes for a great real estate agent.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to win. So
right.
my mother would say, Belle, why have you got 2 coils on the stove when you only need – why have you got 3 coils on the stove and you only need 2? And she'd say, I'm sorry, sweetheart, as she turned the 4th one on. You don't have to win. You don't have to have conflict, right? You can just we just do things in a quiet way.
Do real estate like an Australian woman. Hashtag that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so really, forget all the books. Just study Australian women, because that's exactly it.
And I hate conflict. Anybody will tell you. I hate conflict. If I'm not happy with you, I'll just speak with my feet. I don't say anything, because you're going to figure out You will figure out what you did. You do not need me to tell you, and you do not need a screaming match. So anyway, I've lost my train of thought, but
so we're back to on the phone, clients, emotional. They're going. How you handle that?
So when I first came here, I felt attacked by women were a lot stronger than me, a lot more outspoken. Their volume was higher, very critical.
I wouldn't call them stronger than you. I would call them handling challenges differently than you, if you ask me. Go ahead.
Yeah. But I was so taken aback, and I actually took on that personality in the end. I felt like I needed to defend myself. Mm-hmm. So I would banter back, and it was so out of place for me. And after a few years, I thought, you know what? I don't like you, me. I'm like, I don't like this person you're becoming. Mm-hmm. So I decided that I was just going to ignore how everybody else behaved, and I was going to sit with who I know I am, and that I don't need to have dialogue with people that are abusive or always looking for a fight, right? Mm-hmm. So how that has now transpired is with clients when they're going absolutely off, and there's no stopping them. I never, never, never interrupt them. In fact, I don't even let them know that I'm breathing on the other end. And at a certain point, it's just natural that they run out of steam and they can go and go and go and go.
And it's so tempting for someone like me, especially.
Not for me.
Let them go. Yeah.
I just let them go and go and go.
And that's what they need.
And then they say to me, "Are you still there?" And I wait a few seconds, and in a very low, soft voice, I say, "Yes, I'm just listening." Well, I can tell you that there's not one client that hasn't apologized to me, whether it be at the time or the next day. Because when someone's screaming like that, you can't get a word in edgewise. On a few occasions when I thought, what they just said isn't correct, they're attacking someone, I'll just say that person didn't do it. It just makes them worse. You're better off saying absolutely nothing. So that's how I deal with them on the phone. And I deal with them exactly the same way when they turn on a dime when you're in a meeting and they go on the attack. I say absolutely nothing. And then when they're finished, I know that they feel like a heel because they've run out of steam and I'm not giving them what they want, which is a fight. And then I wait a little while and then I say, "I hear your frustration. I heard what you said." And then they just melt. They melt and they apologize. Always before I leave, they apologize. So, and often they'll say to me, "I really admire how you're never defensive when we go off." And I say to them, I have nothing to be defensive about. I know you're frustrated. This has been going on for a while. You've had it with other agents. I feel your pain. I feel your pain. Mm-hmm. And they respect that. And they never speak to me like that again. Because I say to them, if you want to go and work with somebody else, I'm happy to let you out of your listing. I am. I would never.
Absolutely.
Well, every time I hit someone, I'm releasing them to the universe. They're not going anywhere. They don't want to leave.
Exactly.
It's a pretty simple thing. But I think you never want to come across as desperate. You never want them to think that you're relying on the money because you're not. You don't want to be. I mean, some people are, but even if you are, you're better off taking that power away from them. Don't give them that power because they think
it won't
that
make
you're
your situation better. Need the money or don't need the money. Giving that power is not going to get the money.
Exactly.
Even if you need it, that's not where it's not going to come from. It's not going to come. Or Jeremy Stein recently said on a podcast, what was it? Whatever you do, like if there's one thing, just don't be desperate. It kills everything. And
Absolutely.
It kills your value because that's not what we're not hard to be desperate. Doesn't work.
And
doesn't
that's
help.
what we expect estate agents too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's sort of all for us. But realistically, today, I think there's a new breed of real estate agent. Many people have got MBAs, have got great business backgrounds. They're not people that have their kids and say, I think I'll just go and get my license now and make money.
And we still have those, but I think those people either figure it out or they were like, never mind. So,
well, I think some of them do quite well. You don't have to be good to do well. You just have to have connections. I mean, I see that with a lot of very successful people
well,
too.
I do, but I also would say that I see a lot of people with connections that don't know what to do with them. And then I see other people with connections that know how to leverage them. So even in that, and then I see people without connections. I kind of came in that way with beyond out connections. And you learn how to connect. You don't have to be connected to get connected. Helps,
Right.
but yeah, and there's a lot of cool stuff you can learn to get connected when you're not connected in the first place that help your business in general. So I want to talk about, I think we've got about like 10 or 15 minutes that we can talk. And I would love, as we've listened to you and your success, and it really, really, which I love, comes out of who you are. In our studio, Whitney has a poster, and I haven't read it yet. I'm going to, but it says "Be you." It's like this whole thing about doing the right thing, and it's "Be you." But your business, if I had to give you a mantra, it would be the same. You didn't like who you were, you found who you were, you're you, and that's actually every time you're you, and every time you deliver value in your career, you're just becoming more and more successful. So you sent me, and I'd love to talk a little bit about them. You talked about your favorite beliefs and sayings, your secrets to success, some things on your business. And how you are unique to real estate and the wine industry. So we're going to cover all those in a couple minutes each. I love these favorite beliefs and sayings. For example, the smartest person in the room is usually the quietest person in the room. And even if you're not, just do that and everybody will think you are. I added the last part, by the way, everybody. Listen to what people say, but watch what they do. When people show you who they are, believe them the first time. Your dominant thoughts create your reality. If you do not know what you're thinking, open your filing cabinet and look at your love life. Did I say that right? Yeah.
And look at your love life. I mean, there's two things. If you want to know what you're thinking about your love life or about your business,
I get it. Just look at it.
Right. Yeah. Well, you see, if you don't have many transactions or clients, you're thinking negatively.
Change your thinking. It all starts here first.
Change your life. Change your thinking. I mean, I'm a great believer that we're energy conduits, that we attract everything. I mean, I don't even believe in coincidence. You're thinking about somebody after many years and you haven't heard from them and the phone rings, you know? Mm-hmm. I believe we truly draw all the bad to ourselves and all the good to ourselves. And I have done that many times. I remember some years ago, I had one client after the other. I thought, oh my God. And one of my Asian clients called me, who's a good friend now.
Yeah.
I said, you're not going to believe it. I got another one of those clients. And she said to me, you must be attracting it. And I thought, she's right. So for me, I don't read a lot of books because I don't get a lot of time. But I do listen to Wayne Dyer on YouTube.
Wayne Dyer. Love him.
And Abraham. So I have...
Wayne Dyer, and who was the other one?
Louise Hay and Abraham Hicks.
Okay.
Abraham Hicks, amazing. So for me, whenever anything happens, I'm either on my high-flying disc or my low-flying disc. They're the two discs that I have. Mm-hmm. So when I know that I've been derailed and I'm no longer on my high-flying disc and I'm starting to think negatively, feel negatively, I stop myself and I say, you're on your low-flying disc. So whatever it is that's caused me to get there, whether it be a tragedy in my life or whatever, something that's happened, a problem with getting on with somebody, whatever, I go and listen to one of those YouTubes. I pull up the subject matter that I need to know about loss.
Get railed again. Get back on your high disc.
And I listen to one or two of those, and I am back on my high-flying disc. And when I'm on my low-flying disc, you don't hear from me. That's another thing that I have all my life. I have never told anybody my problems unless they can directly or indirectly solve them.
Yes, and I love that one. I love that one because if you talk to any good, I know Barbara Corcoran is an example. She said, and I know some people, Barbara Corcoran is well known, and in her biography, she talks about in her brokerage, if there was ever a complainer, it didn't matter how much they produced. If they were a complainer, they caused problems. And the overall picture was never as good. So no matter what they produced, if they were a complainer, which means you're just talking about problems that can't be solved, or you're talking about problems for the sake of problems, not for the sake of finding a solution, then she got him out. Like, that was her rule. And she said that was one of the biggest keys to her success. So, and I interrupted you, but that is like, oh, love that. So go ahead.
And it's a tribe mentality as well. You want the tribe to come on board. You know, if you're having a problem with somebody and you start talking to other people about it, you want everybody else to back what you think. Mm-hmm. So, but I think that it also, you're giving energy to something. Whatever you're giving energy to, you're bringing more of it to yourself. Oh, yes. That's why I'm such a big believer in therapists. I mean, believe me, I've been to a therapist for grief, and it's morphed into other things. But
so wait, you are or you're not a big believer in therapists?
I'm not. I tell you, I'm not.
Okay, because I'm with you.
Talk about your problem.
You and I've never heard anybody else say that, but I've said the same thing.
Right.
Like, you just go and talk about your problems. So what? They can get bigger? I don't understand. Exactly.
And some people go there for years and years. I mean, I'm not in a judge situation. I'm all for it. I'm the first to say, listen, having some challenges. Why don't you go and speak? I know somebody who's really fantastic.
Right.
But, and I remember when I went for grief counseling, I called her and she said, have you ever seen a counselor before? And I said yes, over the same problem many years ago in Australia. And she said, well, how long did you see that? And I said, well, not very long, like 4 or 5 times. And then she told me that I don't need to come back anymore. And I was very disappointed because I was really liking going to see her. And we'd actually jumped onto a few other things, you see. Right. And I said, so I was really disappointed. And she said, oh, my God. In America, we would never, ever tell the patient when they need to go. So anyway, I went to see her. On the 4th time I saw her, she said to me, I'm happy to see you, but I really don't think you need to come back anymore.
That's great.
And I thought, so I think that I love to be alone too. I'm with so many people and busy all the time. I love to be alone. I love to be in my own company. So I process things. Mm-hmm. And because I feel like I have high EQ, I know how to process things, and I know how to point the finger towards myself before I'm pointing it in another direction. Yes. And normally that's where the problem is.
I love that.
Within yourself.
So we've got a lot. I want to go through a lot of these with you, and we've got about 10 minutes to do it. If we can keep, yeah. Anyway, so there's no dress rehearsal. So live and love each day like it might be your last. Love each day. I mean, just love the day. You're alive and you're breathing and you're well. Love it. Be in it. And then stop me where you need to, though. Emotional intelligence. We may just stop here and just end the show because this is it. Emotional intelligence is the secret sauce. This is on Secrets to Success. Unlike IQ, which does not change significantly over a lifetime, our EQ can evolve and increase with our desire to learn and grow. Perhaps no aspect of EQ is more important than our ability to effectively manage our own negative emotions so they don't overwhelm us to affect our judgment. And that's part of what we really, you tell me, but a part of what our place is in what we do and make the best agents. It makes the best agents the best agents. Would you agree with that? I think you would.
Yeah, I think so many times I've been in transactions where the agent on the other side is really derailing the deal. And so there's been very few times in my 15 years that I have done a dual agency, but on every occasion they have been beyond complex in structure and the components and, by living in the guest house. These are all second homes, right? By living in the guest house and the seller staying in the main house, whatever it might be structurally. They've been so complex with vineyards and contracts that, and had I not have been representing both sides, I truly believe that none of them would have come together. I'm kind of proud of that because it's not easy to have people be friends with you afterwards if they don't feel, if they feel that you've been looking after the other person. But in all of those transactions, I knew I used emotional intelligence when things got very difficult and there was conflict, I was able to calm both of them down and let them both see the other person's point of view. And I have been in so many situations where I've had agents on the other side and they don't have a high EQ. Mm-hmm. And they really literally cause so many problems, and there's a lot of flare-ups and arguments and yelling and screaming. It's horrible. So I think emotional.
Yeah, and so that's where it comes in, because I want to get to one on here. But practice being an intense listener. Take the high road. Don't lower yourself to banter with agents or clients, which we talked about that. Both of those with your story. That was great. I love that. And it's the discipline to do it, frankly, for all. And the discipline and remembering. But differentiate yourself and figure out what area of business you are going to dominate in. Thank you. Like, that is so true and so well said. Don't fall into the trap of filling out listing agent surveys that they are going to pass to their sellers. There must be a story behind that.
Yes. What I have seen is an agent came to town who's really very, very, very successful here. And in the beginning, she would have us all fill out these surveys that said, what do you think that the property should be listed at? What do you think it should sell for? What changes do you think the seller could make? And we would all fill these out. And then
just don't put your name on it. Right. Go ahead.
Right. So she would go and take them to her clients. And, of course, she didn't have to be the person delivering, we should lower the price, or it's too high, or you really need to stage it, you really need to get your things out of here. All the things we want to say, right? She would sign up the listings and then get us to say it. Well, then what would happen was if she lost the listing, they were like, I'm not going to give this listing to Latife. Look what she said about my property. I'm not going to give it to so-and-so.
Yeah, just don't put your name on it. Exactly.
No, I don't. I'll verbally say something to them, but there's no way, because they're using you, to keep their deal together and to get what they want the seller to do. And if they lose the listing, you are not going to get it.
Exactly. So, differentiate yourself and figure out what area of business you're going to dominate in. So do you have, I'm actually doing a workshop with several agents right now, and I'm helping them focus on that. What's your biggest advice on figuring that out?
Well, I think, somebody said to me years ago, a guy who's got an MBA in the business, he said to me, Latife, you've got to dominate. He said, for example, some people dominate in print advertising, and so therefore they'll think, wow, they must be really fantastic. I'm going to list my property with them. Other people like him, he spends a lot of money for Google clicks, and so he would dominate. He'd always come up number one. For me, I dominate. I do a lot of content writing. Actually, I forgot to mention
you've got a
content
Facebook
writing
page.
For me has been incredibly.
Yeah, what is your Facebook page that's so
Well,
killer?
I have a Facebook page. Thank you. Well, what I like to think is killer is my website. That's my report card.
Yeah.
That's where you go to learn everything about me, and it is there's all these blogs on everything imaginable in there about the wine country. There's blogs there. I have a monthly newsletter that goes out. I spend an enormous amount of time researching that.
So wait, let's pause for a minute, because we got 5 minutes. I want everybody to know how, not for you, but give our listeners one tip on the best way to figure out if you had to tell somebody what's the one way to figure out how to dominate and what area to pick, or how do you figure out where you're going to dominate? What's your one piece of advice on that?
I don't know how to figure out. I mean, it depends. I think it's financial, right? We all get into, if you've got money, you can afford to do the big print advertising. You can afford to do the clicks. I can afford to do that. That's not what I chose to do. What I wanted to do is I wanted to dominate in knowledge. And how do I let everybody know that I have knowledge and that I'm a seasoned professional?
Right.
Yeah, and there's nothing that I don't know, or a subject that I can't just touch on and pass them on to professionals, whether it be the Williamson Act or the Land Trust Act or tax issues or whatever it is. I decided that rather than do these double page spreads, which I do. I do a double page spread in lots of magazines, but instead of having them all properties, I now do one page of content. It's an article that I write.
Oh, that's great.
Very well thought out, well researched. And so I get calls on that all the time because people come here to buy a lifestyle. They don't come here to buy real estate, to buy a home. And so if you're educating them about whether it be taxes or, be very, whatever it is.
I think the key is find an area of knowledge. Where's your area of knowledge that you want to hone in? Because once you have knowledge, you can pick a platform through which to promote yourself and get yourself out there, whether it's social media, digital, print, whatever, magazines, or however, wherever and whenever you want to spend your money, networking, so forth. So lastly, I want to talk about your business and your, kind of what you say about your business and what you say about your unique real estate in Napa Valley, wine country, and agricultural land. So first, and we've got like 4 minutes to do this in, but on your business, you've sent me things like, I practice real estate like a lawyer practices law. I run my practice like a business and I invest in it. I'm a big believer in content writing and have positioned myself as an opinion leader, delving into the complexities of wine country ownership, sharing my knowledge on online and in print. That's things that we can all do once. And when you choose to dominate, those things become much easier. I have a team of outstanding, highly respected consultants that I call upon to successfully close most transactions because it takes a village to get those done and across the line. When agents who work the same market as myself start copying what I'm doing, I stay nothing. I focus and reinvent myself like kindred spirits. I'm there with you. My website is my report card. My goal is to be a trusted advisor for life, your family, your real estate agent, like your family lawyer, your wealth manager, the source you come back for everything you need. So if you want to wrap all that in a bow, what would you say about those core concepts of how you focus on your business and run your business?
Well, I literally, like I said, I it's a practice to me. I practice real estate like a lawyer does. And I invest in my business. I spend a fortune on SEO and copywriting, which draws some. I mean, when I sold the winery for tens of millions of dollars, I said to them, how did you find me? And they said, number one on Google, because I was writing about, Asian investment.
But it's not just
about Asian investment.
It's your content, your Google, you're combining it. You can't just go pay Google. You've got to put something behind that.
Yeah, and and same with my newsletters. I make sure that it's content that people really are looking forward to receiving in their inbox. I rarely send anybody announcements on properties or anything because they're all so busy, and like me, 200 emails a day. I don't want anyone to unsubscribe. So now I have people calling me, can I get on the list? Can I get on the list? So that's I think awesome. You just have to figure out what works for you. But, most of all, you just have to be authentic. You have to be authentic and real. Mm-hmm. And people will pick up on that. People know.
Now, I love this, what you said about what's unique to real estate in Napa Valley and the wine country and their land, which is people do not come, and often in most of our listeners' markets, whatever we're doing, you're not coming to Napa Valley to buy real estate. You are coming there to buy a lifestyle. And I bet you a lot of them are not coming to buy a lifestyle and decide they can afford one, and they will. Napa Valley is farmland dotted with heirs and heiresses. There is which goes back to the clients that you deal with on a regular basis. There's no such thing as price, which we talked about this, price per square foot until you have deconstructed all the components of the property, which is so valuable in how you can assess the value of a property. And for the second homeowners, which is who specialize in, this is the first time they have ever, I'm lost on that one. For second homeowners, which is who specialize in, this is the first time they have ever bought country. So you're kind of dealing with first-time home buyers in a whole new sense, which is why you're like, okay, really, before you make a rash decision on your emotions that you love this, let's think about it. But which goes back to your educational process, the part that you love, which is also the content we talked about, and the art of the deal, which is also what you really love and are really good at. So to elaborate on those a little bit for us.
Well, price per square foot, I mean, I don't know any agent who doesn't sell property up here. They say, oh, we should list your property at this because it's properties like this are selling for $1,200 a square foot.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, I concentrate and get that all over online and print as much as I can, and I go, no, here are the facts. If you look on MLS, price per square foot is the sale price divided by the square footage of the main home. All of these properties that I'm selling have a guest house, have a tennis court, have a vineyard, have a million or two of furniture and, whatever it might be. I mean, they have a pool, some have a spectacular view, some don't have. You have to do a complete deconstruction of the building envelope, price per acre for the planted vineyard, depending on what the varietal is, the quality of the vines, the guest house, second unit, and so, but they bamboozle them. I see agents, they put these models together, and people are bamboozled by this. They go, oh, Latife, you're saying it's only $600 a square foot, and so-and-so says $1,200. And I explain to them why. And they get it. But agents just, and I say to agents all the time, there's no such thing as price per square foot up here until you've taken all those other components out.
Exactly.
Now from the slab up. And I know this is my own home, right? So as well. But it's one of the reasons I know. So I think that's the reason that properties languish on the market for so long, because they're given these unrealistic prices. And people say, oh, somebody else said this, my house is worth 19.5. You're saying 12. I'm like, I'm sorry. And what does it sell for? 11, 12.
Or less if the price starts too high. So, all right. So we are closing in real tight on our interview. So I want to wrap it up with one question, which is, if there's one thing that our listeners, or you would have our listeners take away from this conversation, what would that be?
I have probably just a few things. I would say believe in the law of abundance.
Mm-hmm.
Be exceptional. Gain your client's trust and treat their investment as if it was yours, and magic will happen.
Wait, what was the last one? Treat what? I couldn't hear it.
Treat your client's investment as if it were yours.
Yes.
And magic will happen.
Awesome.
Magic does happen. That has been how it's been for me. That's pretty much how I think I've tried to run my business, and the secret for me being able to be here talking to you today.
Exactly. What great advice. Well, I can't wait to share this with so many people, and I'm honored for the opportunity to do it. So Latife, thank you. And we will make sure we get your website. Everybody is already seen it linked below this interview. And I will see you in Santa Barbara very soon.